I'm currently training for a marathon, and about 2.5 or 3 years ago, I broke 3 hours. It was my first official marathon, but I had been running a lot before that. I had actually, funny enough, I had actually finished a 100 miler before I did a legitimate sanctioned marathon race. So it's not like I just like jumped into it and was like awesome at marathons. I'd been running for a couple of years. I just jumped to 100 milers and then wanted to run a fast marathon. And so as I'm training for this current marathon, I'll get started with training really hard in about a month. So I'll have like a 4 month training block. I'm just building a base right now. And as I think about what I'm going to do over those 4 or 5 months, I'm reflecting back on when I broke 3 hours. I ran a 2:58:45. And then a couple weeks later, there was a half marathon, so I took the speed and fitness I had and I ran a 1:18 half. So they're numbers I'm pretty proud of, but of course I'm going to try and break those this year. I'm probably going to do the marathon and then the half marathon. It's here in St. George Marathon, and I think it was ranked number 3 in the country this year, which is pretty exciting. It's an awesome race. It's beautiful. And so I'm going to talk about 3 workouts that I like for getting faster and what have worked for me in the past, and I'll implement some of these. I'm going to talk about 2 workouts just in general, and then the third one is actually going to be about ultra running, because when I set a 50 miler course record and I won a 100 mile race within, it was maybe like 4 months or 5 month time frame, that third workout I believe is a big part of my success in ultras. So let's talk about the first one, and this has to do with the long run. I know some people like fartlek, or they just keep them easy, and I've done all sorts of different types of long runs. Specifically for the St. George Marathon, I'm fortunate where I'm very close to the course, and there's these group of guys that every year they, you know, we all meet at the bottom and one of us drives up and we run down the course, and so I get to be very familiar with the course. And if you're training for a race, I recommend you at least see the course at least once. The races I've had success at, that I've never done, I visited or studied the course super well. And so that's going to help if you can run on the course and know what your tempo, or just in general what it feels like and what direction you're heading. But with this long run, when I broke 3 hours, I did this every Saturday. I'm probably going to do it every other week. We'll see what happens. But basically, I would do some sort of interval work, and it would be progressive over the course of the months, right? So let's say, for example, I am doing an 11-mile long run when I start this marathon training. What I will do is I will run 1 mile tempo at some point during that long run. So I might run 5 miles to kind of warm up, somewhat of an easy pace, get warmed up, and then run a mile tempo and finish the long run. And so the following week, what I'll do is I'll do like 2 miles tempo, and it'll be 12 miles. So obviously it'll build up, but the point I want to get at is when I get later into the season, the intervals I find really fun and engaging for a couple reasons. One, you get faster. Two, mentally, it's really helpful in learning how to fight. And what it is at a certain point when the long run is long enough and I'm in the place to run several tempo miles, and I'm going to look for a 6:18 pace, maybe 6:30, somewhere along there. And what that is I might run 5 miles to warm up, and then 3 miles at tempo, do a mile recovery, so a little bit easier, and then 2 miles at tempo, and then a mile recovery, and then 1 mile at tempo, and then cool down with the last 2 or 3 miles. And so this is really good because you get to recover from hard efforts, and it slowly gets easier in the fact that you have less per interval, but it's harder because you're later into the run and you've done more tempo after each interval. And so I've really liked this because it gets me familiar with the course, but also that mental benefit of being like, well, oh shit, I got to do it again. I got another 2 miles. You get through the 2 miles, you just focus on it, and then you're like, or I'm like, I have 1 more mile. If I can just relax, focus on my breathing, calm down, and then go not as hard as I can, but definitely try and hit that final interval. And towards the end, I'll do something like 10 miles in a row, no breaks, something along those lines. So that progressive long run tempo interval I think has been very helpful. And again, if you're on the course, it gets me super familiar on what this hill feels like at tempo versus this downhill. At mile 7, there's this crazy incline, so it's nice to not feel beat up when I'm running a 7:30 up that massive hill, versus what I want to average, which is obviously much faster than that if I'm going to set a PR. So that's the first workout. I really like that. I'm sure it would work super well for half marathons. In general, if you want to get fast, you have to run fast, right? And so at some point, you got to start throwing in some faster miles. Now, the second workout I'm going to talk about is just mile repeats, or I really like 2x2s. That's at least what I call them. I don't know what other people call them. But basically what it is it's 2 mile at tempo, and then you have a short recovery, a couple minutes, and then you do another 2 miles. Or if you're just going to do single mile intervals, it's a mile at tempo or at your goal pace, really lactate threshold area, and then you recover for a couple minutes, maybe instead of a full mile, and then you hit another interval. And so it's very similar to the long run workout I just talked about. This is really fun on the track. I like this kind of stuff on the track because it's much more controlled. I don't have to worry about inclines. I can really focus on my pace and my form and my breathing, and it's a simpler workout. So for example, throughout the marathon, I'm going to do something where on Tuesdays I do mile repeats, and then on Saturdays I do that long run workout I just talked about. And I'm thinking about alternating where I'm on like a 2-week cycle. So this is something I've never done, but I'm curious to see how it plays out, because these intervals I've been talking about is like lactate threshold, right? That's the work I'm doing. I want to do some VO2 max stuff as well, which is typically much shorter and faster, and it's something you can't really maintain for a long time. And so I think what I'm going to do, this is kind of a bonus workout I'm going to talk about, is I'll do those mile repeats or 2x2s, something like that on Tuesday, a long run on Saturday with that tempo workout I talked about, and then the following week I'll do the lactate threshold work or mile repeats on Tuesday, and then a VO2 max workout on Thursday. So then on that following Saturday long run, it can just be easy base work. And every other run around that will be zone 1, zone 2. So easy running for me, just to build up the volume and make sure I'm fresh and recovered for each speed workout that I'm doing. So that's my plan. It might change. I might decide to move things around. I'm not entirely one of those guys that sets a plan and sees it all the way through. Like, I want to hit my workouts. I don't want to skip workouts. But sometimes I decide, you know what, this isn't working, or I like something else. And I'll say this before I move on to the last workout. When I first started training for that St. George Marathon, one of the guys I was running with said, there's a ton of plans out there that works. I think the most important thing is that you believe in it. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. Like, pro athletes in all different realms, sure, they probably have similar things that they all do. But there's little things here and there, and sometimes a person who does X wins, and sometimes a person that does Y wins. There's a lot of variables, but the point is, if you believe in it, you're going to want to do it, you're going to enjoy it, you're going to feel the progress, opposed to showing up and questioning after you did something. I think that mental doubt will hinder performance in training. So I think that's something I try and look for when I'm doing training plans, is, do I believe in this? Do I like this? And of course, I'm learning to try and implement other things that I'm unfamiliar with. Now, the third one I talked about, more for ultras. Now, if you're into ultra running, you're familiar with the back-to-back long run. It's something like a 20-mile run on Saturday and a 15-mile run on Sunday, or just these heavy long runs back-to-back. And this is for getting used to being on tired legs. And yeah, if you're running a 100-miler, 50 miles in, you're on tired legs, so you kind of want to somewhat simulate as best as you can without hurting yourself what that is like. And so the back-to-back long runs are great for that. What I would do, and I know this probably increases my risk of injury or overtraining. I spend a lot of time recovering, especially like I like to focus on recovering with marathons, but especially with ultras, because I'm doing so much and it's so hard on my body that I really spend time recovering. Though what I'm going to point out is this workout that sure might be a little bit more risky, I felt like it helped me, is with that back-to-back long run. 20 miles on Saturday, 15 miles on Sunday. I would pretty much, when I did this workout, what I would do is easy zone 2 on the first long run, so that 20 miler. The next day, I would warm up and then I would hit some tempo miles. And so it's kind of like your warm up for a long run and then hitting tempo miles where you're ready to go. But in this situation or scenario, I'm already tired, I'm already fatigued. And so I'm trying to learn how to run fast on tired legs, not just run, not just get through the run. And initially, if you're getting into ultras, I don't think you necessarily have to worry about this if you just get comfortable with what it's like to run on tired legs and what your form looks like, or how to breathe through it, or just mentally gut it out. Though as I got further along my ultra journey, after I finished my 100-miler, I wanted to win the next one that I did, which I did. This workout was a part of that because I knew what it felt like to run fast on tired legs. And so the 100-miler I won, it was more of a last one standing format, but they stop at the 17th lap. It's a 6-mile loop, so you end at 102 miles. And so traditional last one standings or last man standings, it's just you go until someone is done. This race just ends at 102 miles. So the winner is whoever finishes that last lap. You have to get through 96 miles, and then it's a 10K race, basically. And so I knew I needed to learn how to run fast on tired legs if I wanted to win that race. And so that back-to-back long run tempo on that second day was a big part of my success, because when I hit that last lap the year I won, I knew what it felt like to be on tired legs and run fast on tired legs. I believe the last 2 miles were like a 6:40 and 6:18 or something like that. So it was pretty fast. I finished the loop in around 45 minutes, which is a good 10K time anyways, but to do that after running 96 miles, it's just like, I sometimes don't even believe it, because it was just such a great day. Everything worked out. A lot of it all working out was because of the work I did prior. And so if you're trying to get faster, it's a workout to throw in there. I used to do it very often. I don't think I need to do it as much. I can pick a month or a week where like 1 week in the month where I do something like this, or maybe once every 2 months, because again, it's risky, it's a lot on the body, and then it absolutely makes the next week of running harder. So maybe a suggestion is, if you do this, you plan on pretty easy running. Even if you don't lower volume, you just realize, I might walk a lot of my mileage following this workout, I might reduce the volume or remove a speed workout, or you got through all of it and you find a way, and that's just going to take the individual to decide. So hopefully you get something out of that. There's a lot of different tempo workouts out there. I don't understand or know them all. I'm weak with like short intervals like 200 and 400s, which is something I plan to work on throughout this training block for the marathon. But hopefully you got something that maybe inspires you to get out there and run faster or try something new. And if you like running, that's what this channel is about. I'm just talking about my experiences and what I'm learning and my failures. So if you like that content, consider subscribing. If not, I still hope you got something out of this video, and I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace!